Hello everyone, welcome back. So, last time that I left a video on YouTube, it was showing off the frame moving. Everything was up and working essentially, and showing it working in some games, but it had one major flaw, which was the positional tracking. Whenever you would surge, especially surge, you would basically move in-game closer to the steering wheel or further back from the steering wheel. If you rolled too much, you would roll outside of the car. A bunch of stuff like that. So, the only thing that I could think of to resolve that, outside of turning off positional tracking, which I can't do with my headset, which is an HP Reverb G2 V2, I haven't found a way to disable positional tracking inside of Windows. There's a couple things on the internet, but that just tells you to turn off the screen goes gray if it loses positional tracking, but not actually turn off its positional tracking entirely. So the only thing I can think to do to resolve that is to basically build an enclosure. So this is the fan mount here. This is the testing phase right now, so I just have cardboard on the back here. This is actually the front of the motion sim, and then just above that there is this giant thing which goes all the way up top, goes all the way around to the back. There is the seat, you can see there. There's the surge motor and the traction loss motor, the traction loss frame. So there is this giant cage, essentially, with covering all around it. And then you can see I have the throttle mounted. And in order to mount the throttle, since the throttle has to go there, essentially, in order to mount the throttle without having it in the way, so when you climb in you have to climb over the throttle, which would be a huge pain, or B, have like a removable post essentially that sits on. The other alternative is just to build a door. So I got the two essentially gate hinges from the last door that I made when it was a wooden 2x4 frame. I used those hinges, welded those on, basically created a door. With the pipe up there, had to cut out, I'm getting better, had to make a cutout there for this wind sim here, so when the door closes, it comes around the wind sim, and then it goes back up there, and back over around, but basic door frame there. And then I've got the mount for the throttle welded on there, just two plates where that mounts onto. It's all welded. And then right now, as a covering, I'm just using bed sheets. I just have a fitted sheet draped around the door right now to cover that. And then this is the non-fitted sheet, king size sheet from like Walmart that came in a pack, that I've kind of sewn. I use the word sewn very lightly, but I've kind of sewn it to the frame, so it's on there, but if you can see there, yeah, it's very loosely sewn. So got this frame completed, got the door completed, and then ran like one or two tests in VR inside of here to see if the motion cancellation would work. The problem is that I kept losing tracking. There kept being drift inside the tracking. So I essentially realized that the problem I was experiencing was just not enough light inside of here. So I went ahead and wired up 3 of the LED lights. I had anticipated this. I figured that once I built this cage, and if I was going to block out the external environment, that meant there was going to be no light inside of here. 'Cause I'm blocking out the environment, I'm basically blocking out the light. So I just got done mounting and wiring up these lights. I've got one on that bar, one on that bar there, and then one down there to illuminate the shifters and the e-brake and whatnot. And then got the door here. So basically this would close like so. I don't have a way to actually close the door as of yet. I haven't built that mechanism. Essentially the game plan is going to be let me get some, there you go. I would expose like this part of the frame, and then I'm going to put like an aluminum plate on there with a handle, and then it will have a pin or a shaft or something that will go in here. I'll cut a hole in here, and a shaft or something that'll go in here that'll lock the door in place, and then when you lift the handle, it'll retract the pin from there, and then I'll sew this around it so the door handle will always be exposed. So you will essentially come up, open the door handle, and that will open the door, and then you can get in. The lights are wired up on this top switch here. There's no light, there's with light. This switch up here, when it gets wired up, will be the wind sim. All 3 of the wind sims will be wired up there. Yeah, those wind sims back here, I just need to, you can see it down there, I just need to cut out some of the cloth here. Need to figure out a way that I can cut that and hopefully mount it to like this cardboard or something to block as much light as possible. So I did do one quick test with it set up like this, a very, very quick test, and it was doing good, but it still felt like it lost positional tracking, and I'm thinking it's because of the gap that I have here. Basically all there, you can see the ground. I've got the panel there, and another panel there, and then the door would have the covering, but I don't have anything under the feet yet. So let me cover that, but your legs go there, so I figure that blocks most of the vision. If the, almost dropped it there. If the vision on the camera is sitting, like this, if you're essentially one of the cameras on the VR headset and you're looking at it, you essentially just see the legs there, so I don't think you can see very much through the foot panel, but I think you can see the ground through there. So I need to figure that out, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if the cloth is going to be long enough to cover all the way down to the frame that it needs to go down to. So I might have to cut some stuff and sew it on and get it to where it needs to be. It's just the roughed out part of it. But one other part of the frame, essentially, the frame is removable. It's bolted on there on both sides, one bolt there on both sides. This leg and this leg here both have this hinge, so they can collapse forward. Both those legs can collapse forward. This leg here also has the hinge, and this leg goes down here. That's where the light is mounted, but that the part of that is bolted on to this bar that's welded onto the frame. So that bar essentially goes down to there, and then I needed it to go out further because I want the covering to come and have enough room for your hand to be able to use the joystick / e-brake over there without your hand scraping or anything. Like, the covering needs to come around it. Same thing with the door here. The covering needs to come and give you enough room to be able to grab the throttle and stuff. So the door, if you look at it, it's straight on bottom. It's kind of hard to see with the with the bed sheet on there, but it's straight on bottom to match the frame down there. And then this part comes off of, if that's straight, this part comes off of it at a slant. It's not straight up and down, so that part comes off at a slant, and then that part also slants up and outward over that way, and that essentially creates this pocket in here. When you cover it, even if it was covered real tight, there would still be this pocket that allows space down here for your hand to operate. And then the cut, I believe I showed you the cut up here to allow for the Winsym. So, you know, it was a fairly complex door to create and weld. The frame also wasn't it wasn't too bad, but having to hold all the bars in place and weld them, which is one person, was pretty difficult, but got that done. So the frame, the top frame is essentially just like a what would that be? Pentagon? No, not a trapezoid. Yeah, trapezoid. The top frame is essentially a trapezoid, and then it has this little pyramid coming off down at a slope, and then this bolts on to the Winsym right there. So it's removed with 2 bolts there, 2 bolts down here to remove that off, and then 1 bolt down there, 1 bolt down there, and then that removes the entire top carriage. And then 3 bolts here, 3 bolts here would remove the door off of it, and then that's essentially the entire top cage that's built completely off of it. The lights are wired up. These are, you know, pretty cheap little Amazon like 4-pack lights. They're pretty bright for this little enclosure, a lot brighter than I thought they were going to be. So it definitely lights it up nice and bright. And they're just wired up through here, and the wires go around there, meet up with this guy, and then go there, and go back down through here, and then they plug in to this light right here, so that way I can remove this part here, and then the negative goes all the way down to the battery back there, so that I would just remove the negative terminal off of there, and then fish it back through, remove this part right here, and then I can remove this top frame without the lights being, you know, stuck on anything. The lights will go with this the top frame itself, so that works out nicely. So the last thing to do now is I gotta test the frame, make sure everything works, make sure the covering works. I gotta make sure that this, see if this is actually an issue, get this covered up. I do have a little spot here. This will get, I have like snaps and stuff, so this hopefully will get snapped over here, but I need this to be open, because now this is fully enclosed. I can't see the monitor to be able to, like, from in here to be able to set, you know, my game settings up in Flight Sim, or, well, Flight Sim isn't going to be that difficult because you can do everything in VR, but it's more Assetto Corsa doing things with the content manager. You do that outside of VR, so I need to have a monitor. So for right now, I've got, you can see my monitor through there, so I just kind of move that to the side, and then look at that monitor to adjust stuff with the mouse I have mounted down there. I can adjust stuff on that for testing, and then just close this. This actually gets tucked back there like that. So that closes off that section. I think that, you know, that closes that pretty nicely, so I don't think that disturbs it too much. But right now it's basically that open area and that open area and down there. All of that needs to be covered up, and possibly the wheel well down here needs to be covered up. The next thing is the wind sim needs to be wired up. Need to cut that to actually get the third motor in here to affect it. Get that wired up and then tested. I might need to swap out the monster motos on there, I'm not sure. And then now that I've added a bunch of weight to the top frame, it's on the blocks right now, so it's not too wobbly, but when it's not on the blocks, it's definitely a lot more wobbly, because I've added so much weight and increased the center of mass by adding the weight so high. But this is the latest update right now with the motion sim. It has a full cage, it has interior lights, everything is pretty much mounted. The last thing I need to work on is I had my joystick there set on this wooden mount, and then there is a hole inside of that 2x4 that's slotted on top of. Coco makes you want to go inside. Go inside. Okay, hole in that 2x4 that sat on this bolt right here, and then there's like there's a little hole there to make sure it didn't spin. But that is wood. I want to remove all the wood parts, so I want to redo that out of metal essentially. And then I want to get that joystick hard mounted to that, so that way instead of like putting that on after you sit down in the motion sim, basically that's such a big plate that you have to sit down in the motion sim before you can mount anything onto that. If you mount anything onto that and then try and sit in it, it's just like the plate to be able to hold that, it's gonna be so big that it's just easier just to get in and then mount that thing down and then have it between your legs and you're ready to go. So got to redo that mount in metal, hard mount that joystick, so that way just hold the joystick and just plop it down on there and it's good to go. So now that I have the fully built feet well, essentially that's where the rudder pedals will go. I need to figure out a way to stop them from moving now that they've got a place to sit on, which is great, but now I need them to stop from going back and forward, so I just got to put tabs on there. Weld tabs on to stop that. And that's then, I mean, future plans are to get the harness mounted up, the 4-point harness. I'll probably just mount the lap belt section on to here, so that, you know, I probably won't do much for the roll, but I do want to have it with braking, and I want it to where when it goes backwards, because when my motion sim is set up to where when you accelerate, it accelerates forward, so that way it throws you back in the seat as it accelerates like a normal car would, and then when it brakes, it moves backwards to try and throw you forward like a normal car would, essentially. And a normal car doesn't move backwards when it brakes, but its relative position is like, say your inertia, you're not accelerating, you go at a constant 60 miles an hour, and then say the phone stays at 60 miles an hour and then you start braking, you're going to go backwards as the phone continues at 60 miles an hour forward, so that's why it moves backwards if this is your reference frame. So essentially what I want it to do is, as it moves backwards on braking, I want it to tighten the harness, the chest harness, shoulder harness. And in order to do that, and I don't want it to tighten when it accelerates, right? So if I were to basically just have it come straight down, like say this here is its neutral position, it's a little bit forward, but let's just say that's its neutral position there. If I just hard mount those down straight to the bottom of the frame, which I could do right now, when I accelerate forward and the entire thing moves forward, it would tighten the belts, as well as if I move backwards, it would tighten the belts. I don't want it to do that. I just want it to tighten the belts when it moves backwards, and I kind of want it to slacken the belts when it moves forward, if anything. So in order to do that, I need to essentially have a point, like I need the belt to wrap around to a point like down here. And so when it accelerates, and then it'll have like a bungee cord there that connects that harness and that harness to the point that's here. It can't be connected to this trolley because it can't move with the trolley. That would yeah, that would defeat the purpose of what I need it to do. So I need it to be on this frame, but I can't have it interfere with the trolley because the trolley again slides back and forwards on this frame. So I think I need to have it come from like out here and go forward this way, and it has to come past, it has to be outside the trolley because again the trolley needs to slide backwards and it can't interfere with the trolley. So it's going to come out this way, and essentially it'll wrap down, and then as the thing accelerates forward, this will be out of tension because the part up, that's where, you know, it loops through the seat, and so that part will go down to this part here. I think it'll have a part here that'll go to a part here and then mount back there. I'm not sure exactly how that part's going to work out, but the part has to be here. As it accelerates forward, it won't be under tension because it can essentially, it'll move to where the shoulder strap's most forward part is, at its most forward part of the surge. That's where I'll mount that point. It actually, yeah, because it can't be under any tension as it moves forward. And then as it moves to neutral, it should be to its default tightness. And then if it moves backwards from any point from there, it should put stretch on the bungee cord, which should tighten that harness and give you the sensation of braking, and it should actually pull the harness back into you. But in order to do that, I need to still figure all that out because I don't think I explained it very well. And that's because I don't think I know it very well in my head. It's only a very rough idea. So I've got to fully design that part out. Then I've got to like print the pulleys and buy bearings for that part, because I'll need the roller that goes here to be able to roll, the roller that goes here to be able to roll. And then I need to break open the seat, because right now I just have this cut in and there's just a metal rod that goes through the back here, and this is just looped over that metal rod. So even though you can kind of pull on the belt and move it fairly easily, once you actually put tension on there, since there's just a metal rod back there, there's no rollers, there's no bearings, there's nothing, I don't know if it'll roll smoothly. So I kind of think I would have to tear apart the seat, cut that rod, put bearings and pulleys on either side for the belts, and then weld that rod back up, and then maybe weld more structure to support it. Like, it's just a bunch of stuff that I don't necessarily want to do to get that working. And if I'm going to get it working to any degree, like if I'm going to make sure the 4-point actually works, then I would want to incorporate that to make sure the braking, because I had that with the G seat, and that is just awesome. Just that sensation of it pulling you back into the seat when you're braking just helps convince the mind so much. So it's either I'm going to do that, or I'm going to redesign a new seat and do a half G seat, essentially just do the back two flaps with the lightest motors I can find, because the bottom flaps aren't that big of a deal. They're nice, but the back flaps are way more important, if only just for the braking aspect of it. So got a lot to think about on that, but this is the latest update. I have a full canopy that's collapsible, that can, be moved in and out of places. That's why I definitely need it to be collapsible. The door isn't too big. It can go in and out of doors pretty easily. It's fairly wieldable, very light, even with that monster on there. So yeah, got a door made, got a canopy made, got interior lights wired up on a switch, and we are ready for testing. So I will try and get a video or two, the rest, you know, tonight or hopefully tomorrow, of me actually testing this thing and do a split screen and whatnot. So I will talk to you guys later.